entertaining, informative, and educational. Inspiring content that makes a difference.
This is the Maximus Troy Publications Broadcasting Network.
Join the Academy. This show is brought to you by the Breeders' Academy, where we will help you to increase your knowledge of breeding, advance your skills as a breeder, and help you to improve the quality and performance of your fowl.
As a member, I'll provide you a roadmap that you will need to create a true family or strain. Starting with a cock from one breeder and a hen from another breeder, no problem. We can help you to turn your flock of hybrid crosses or mongrels into a pure family or strain, and show you how to continually improve that strain each generation. We'll start by showing you how to select your seed fowl and how to turn that seed fowl into a high-quality foundation strain. Our proven breeding programs and specialty courses are designed to take you step by step through the breeding process. And best of all, I'll be there to help you every step of the way.
We urge you to check it out. You have nothing to lose, and you can cancel at any time. You also have a 30-day money-back guarantee. Simply go to www.breedersacademy.com to sign up.
The Breeders' Academy will not only change the way you think about breeding, but improve the way you breed your fowl. Okay, welcome to another episode of Bred to Perfection. I'm Kenny Troiano, founder of the Breeders' Academy, and I'm here with my wife, Nancy. What's up?
The earth, the moon, and the stars. Now, I got to bring something up real quick. Yeah, and me. And our anniversary.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
42 years.
20 years. Can you believe we've been married 20 years? No, I'm joking.
I think it's still a little bit longer than that, okay?
Just a smidge. Talking like 42 years.
Yeah,
that's
43 if you count the year before.
Yes.
So.
It's been a long haul, but I made it.
No, a good life.
I have something that's very interesting is Sue Dobson. She had a picture of her on Facebook where she was standing next to this big, huge diesel truck. And I just asked her if that was her truck. She says that was one of 4 trucks that she
Oh my God.
had.
Wow. Really?
So my goodness, it amazes me all the different things that our members and people that we reach out to and watch our show do for a living or have done for a living. It's wonderful.
Yeah,
Cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm in a good mood because I just got my truck painted, looking really good. It's a 2004 Tundra 4-door. Looks brand new. Looked just like it did right off the lot,
It looks
So
really good. But I'm
mhm.
telling you, he was fretting for 3 weeks when that truck was in the paint shop. Like,
Well, my baby wasn't home in my driveway. You know what I mean? It didn't feel right that she wasn't sitting there in the driveway. So,
yeah.
yeah, a little apprehensive, a little nervous, a little excited, all those things. I wasn't sure what to expect because I went online looking at videos at some of these companies. I was like, oh my God. But everybody recommended this guy to me. And yeah, he did a good job. Matter of fact, I think we're going to paint Nancy's little car. We have a way of holding on to cars because she has her 2003 Camry, and we take really good care of our cars. Anything that happens to them, we fix them. Anything, we maintain them really well. There's, except for a little aging on the paint, they're in really good shape. And so we're thinking about painting Nancy's car too. You know,
Yes, but we're having a little bit of an argument, guys. Let me know what you think out there. I want a cranberry color because the color that it is right now is kind of a gold, a dull gold color, and I don't like that color for myself. And Kenny is like going, no red cars in the family, no red cars in the family. So, guys, let me know what you think. What colors are your favorite colors that you would like to see me paint my little Camry? On the flip side of that, Joshua has a question for you, Kenny. Now that's a good truck. How many motors have you put in her?
no, this motor, the 4.7 liter, they call it the million-mile engine. I've got, what is it, Nancy? About 200 and almost 260,000 miles on it, and it still runs like a new car. It's in
Yeah.
really good shape. Has a lot of power, sounds good, feels good, the whole bit. No, except for a timing chain here and there, and a water pump, and maybe a battery here and there, and new tires. That truck is stock. Yeah.
Okay, here you go. Deep cherry red with sparkle. Yes, definitely. That's where I'm going.
No, you're going cranberry.
Well, because you wouldn't let me do like
I'm a little worried about red. Reds
red,
are, what do they call it? Ticket magnets. And insurance companies don't like them either.
but I
So,
don't drive fast, so that doesn't matter.
but I do.
You
That's
don't drive my car.
yeah, I have been a lot lately. That car's like a little go-kart. It's like a little racer. Has a lot of power. It zooms here and there. It's a lot more maneuverable, easy to park than my truck,
Yeah.
and better on gas.
It's
So
it's easier to park than me.
yeah,
What you were gonna say. It's easier to park than Nancy.
than my truck. But no, we have 3 cars, and one we don't hardly drive except for special occasions. And the truck was always been the main car we drove, and then Nancy's was putt around town. But that thing, I've been driving the hell out of that because my truck's been in the shop. That's a hell of a little car. That's a nice little car. For
You know,
22 years old, that's a real nice little car. So
well, Sue says put an AARP sticker on the back bumper. You know what I do have on the
we
back
do have a
bumper?
AAA sticker on the back.
We do. But on the back bumper, I bought this it's a magnetic strip that says the closer you get, the slower I go. And it's in bold yellow letters so you can see it from pretty far back. So I love that.
I will say that on that tone is my daughter's. She just got a permit, so I've been taking her out every day and doing some driving, which she's doing really good. Every time she gets in that car, she does better and better. But we have these. Oh, here they are, right here. We have these little on the back to kind of let everybody. Hold up. Everybody know that she's a beginner driver. Matter of fact, I think I got 2 different types so that they stand out. And some people, they honor it. They stay back, give her some room, and then you got some jerks that right on her ass, teaching her less. I don't know, but Tawny's handling that really good too, and so now she's going to be able to drive my truck too. But she's doing really good.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We just ordered a bunch of cups. Let me see yours, Nancy.
Ooh.
So
So I have one.
press.
It's in pink for me. That's
Yep.
what I got. And then we got this one from Cafe Press. I don't know if you can see that very well. Bread to Perfection. They have a lot of different colors that you can make the handle and the inside of the cup. They've got red, blue, teal, pink, black. So anything you want to choose that fits, your favorite colors, you can do that. So
Just go to Cafe
do that,
Press, punch in Breeders Academy or Bred to Perfection, and the products will come up, and then you can pick your product, the kind of product you want. There's all kinds of stuff on there, but I like the coffee cups. So
they're neat.
yeah, I do want to welcome our new members. We got a lot of new members recently, which I do appreciate. Once you join, you're going to have instant access to the website. Just go to www.breedersacademy.com, and you'll have access to the Founders Program, the Masters Class videos, the Members Roundtables, programs and courses, the complete collection of videos and audios that we've done, the daily articles that I put in there, and we have great contributors like Brian Reeder, Peter Brown, and Dr. Gallardo, and then we do coaching calls too for our members. Just as soon as you join, like I said, you're going to have instant access, but I want you to go in and click the Start Here pages. That's going to get you started on the right foot. A lot of people go, God, I don't know where to begin. I don't know what to do first. Well, that'll help you right there. And then I suggest that you spend a little time on the website, like a month, before you set up a coaching call, because you're going to have a lot of questions, and we'll address those on your first coaching call. Just go to www.breedersacademy.com. This is going to be an interesting one. We do every now and then. I did one, it might have been a year ago, with Tawny, my daughter, on breeding terms simplified, I think we called it. So she brought up different things, like glossary words that have to do with breeding, genetics, evolution, all that. And then I described it. And so Nancy wants to do the same thing. We have a huge list here. I think we'll tackle these for a while. Whenever Frank's not going to make it on the show, we might do this. We have some other ideas too. So should be fun, because Nancy's always asking me, what's this word mean? What's this word mean? Write it down. We'll address it on the show. So.
And I did. I did write it down. Question for you, Kenny. Do you want to start at number 1, or can I jump around?
Just jump around, whatever.
Okay, cool. Yay!
Yeah. And we are having a roundtable after the end of the show. So at 1 hour, we're jumping out of here, going on the website. Members, join us there. And get your questions ready, because we're going to, anything that has to do with the website, the Founders Program, anything like that, we address back there.
Sounds good. Okay, my first question to you. And guys, should we have them ask questions, or should we have them wait until they get into the roundtable to ask questions? How do you want the rules to be?
That is something we're thinking about doing here pretty soon.
But I'm talking about tonight. What are the rules for tonight?
They can ask questions if they have words, terminologies, words or terms that they want me to address. We can do that here.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to start us off with the first one. What does exaggerating traits mean?
Okay. So whenever we have a trait that we like, okay, and this is usually a polygenic trait, multi-gene quantitative trait. Usually we see when it's those kind of traits, we see variation within those traits. So that means if we're looking at station of leg, which is the length of the leg, we'll see some short-legged birds, long-legged birds, medium-legged birds. And if there's let's say we feel that they're short-legged, shorter than we want them to be, then we will breed to the extremes to get them to the height we need. And so we'll exaggerate that particular trait until we get to where we want, and then we balance it from there. So if we get to the height we want, then we kind of stop, and then we select the ones that are in that range from then on. Okay, so any traits we want that are far from the goal or the desired trait, we're going to exaggerate our selection until we get that particular trait. Okay?
Okay. I have one question. Well, I have a statement up here, but I want to say something to Chris. Let me read it off. I just finished the Game Fowl Breeder's Manual Volume 2. I don't have a computer, so the print on the website would be too small for him. Great book. Now, Chris, have you tried being a member and using your phone or your tablet as a references to where you can go inside the website, because you can use either one or both of those as well.
I don't get it, Nancy. What's going on?
Well, he doesn't have a computer, so
Well, I
I'm
mean, you
thinking
can
he's
use on
a
your
member.
phone and you can blow it up. You can make it bigger, you know. I do think it's easier to use on your computer, but I have plenty of members that only use their phone, you know. So
And the book doesn't have as much as the website has as well.
yeah.
You want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, I mean, it's a great book on the basics of breeding. Get you started on the right foot, gives you a better understanding what actual breeding is all about. Kind of dives a little bit into the evolutionary side, the genetic side, the selection side. Um, Talks a little bit about the breeding methods, but it doesn't go into depth on the breeding program side of it, like the Founders Program. It's a great book. I recommend it, but Nancy's right. The website is so much better. You know, there's just so much more information, and there's some of those articles within the book that I took and made them better and expanded them, and those are on the website too. So, yeah.
There you go. And Sue just wanted to let you know that she has a fine pen of pullets going back and starting over with the cleanup program and showing good results.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that cleanup process of the Founders Program I think every breeding program should have a cleanup process. A lot of people are jumping into what we call the foundation stage with birds that have a lot of flaws or have issues. And I never want to start the foundation stage with birds that have those issues. I want to start with birds that are free of defects, they're healthy, they're representative of their breed. They're birds that basically I would want to clone. That's the whole idea. And so the cleanup process allows you to get them to a point where you're selecting birds that are worthy of cloning so that you can make a lot more progress better and faster. Okay. And so, yeah, there's things about the Founders Program that I don't see in any other breeding program. A lot of people think that inbreeding is a breeding program. No, they think line breeding is a breeding program, and there's different versions, or they have different ideas what line breeding is all about. I think I've heard in the last maybe couple weeks. I don't go online much anymore. I mean, like social media. I think I went on there the other day, and some things popped up, and they were calling. When I read further into it, what they're actually talking was the 5/8 3/8 method, which is a basic inbreeding method, and they were actually calling that a line breeding method, which was far from it. And then there's a lot of people that do use in and in as line breeding, and there's just so many different methods that people use, and they think it's line breeding, and it's just not. If they understood the true um, function and purpose of line breeding, it's a lot simpler than everybody wants to make it, and it does the job for what it was meant to do, you know. But there's a little tricky part of it that just the line breeding program all by itself, as my members know, doesn't really work by itself. It's a great program that's associated with other programs, and there's certain thing about line breeding that you'd have to do to make it all work. And then I know I'm being vague. It's really hard to even describe it, but it's something you're going to have to join the Breeders' Academy to find out. And then there's something after the line breeding that you need to do to make that makes it work. Without it, you're breeding to the dead zone. And a lot of people fail because they get to that dead zone, and then they add new blood to freshen the blood because they had nowhere to go. And then they did the line breeding forever for nothing. So, okay.
Freshening the blood, meaning adding new blood to it, correct?
Adding new blood, thinking it's gonna, like, they're afraid they're getting too inbred. They're starting to show signs of inbreeding depression, maybe, or they think it does. A lot of times, what they think is inbreeding depression isn't. But they start running into faults. They're a little worried they're getting a little too close. So because they didn't set up a proper breeding program, then their family isn't set up properly. They get birds from somebody they think they can trust and bringing it into their blood, thinking that they're refreshing it. And we say it all the time. They're not refreshing anything. They're changing it. So
in what ways are they thinking that they're getting
they're getting the benefits of the
no,
of
I lost the word depression, but there's a word that goes before depression. In what ways are
inbreeding
inbreeding depression? Yes.
inbreeding depression?
Yes.
Okay. Well, they think because they're getting smaller is a sign of inbreeding depression. I hear that all the time. It's not. Okay. It's poor selection because they're selecting birds that tend to be smaller than they should. Usually it's on the hen side. Okay. They're not very careful of the hens that they're selecting, so they do start to get smaller. That's not inbreeding depression. What's the other one? Weakness, sickness. Again, that's not culling the sick like they should, but medicating them when they get sick, and then they get behind the eight ball, and they tend to fall apart. Well, sickness is a selection point too. So if I stop giving them medications and I select for vigor, health, and vigor, eventually I'm not going to have sick birds. A lot of people aren't willing to do that. So, true inbreeding depression happens way before the birds even reach maturity. So, either the eggs don't hatch, or when they hatch, the chicks are very lethargic. They're weak. They don't look right. They're just not very active. Those are the first signs of inbreeding depression. Okay. A lot of times, inbreeding depression takes care of itself because the birds never reach maturity, anyways. Also, inbreeding depressions like hybrid vigor, where it's not inheritable, it's not passed to the next generation, so it's very temporary. So the birds expressing inbreeding depression, you just get rid of them, breed the parents to different mates, and usually that takes care of the problem. And I'm not talking about outside the family, I'm talking about within the same family. But it takes a lot for most animals, especially chickens, to reach inbreeding depression. You'd have to do so many inbreedings and not select for vigor and health to get there. I mean, we say it many times that I know quite a few breeders, that's all they do is inbreeding. They're breeding brother and sister every generation because they know what to select for. They know what to cull for. Okay. So when people are worried about inbreeding depression, I doubt they even know what it looks like, and seldom do they ever reach that point.
Now, Spazgetti is saying, just let Kenny know, we've got all these members in here going, tell Kenny this, tell Kenny that. I'm sure you can tell him in the backside when we go into the roundtable, but we're just going to do this anyway. Just let Kenny know I'm going to create 2 families and then cross them later and have a total of 3 families.
To me, a lot more work, and you got to maintain them and keep good records. I don't have a problem with that, just as long as you maintain them. That you keep track of everything and record everything.
Okay, now backing up a little bit, you said inbreeding depression could come off in that the eggs don't hatch, as one of them that I heard. That also could be because your rooster's too old or your rooster is not fertile anymore, couldn't it?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, so what you need to do is to determine why they're not hatching. So whenever an egg doesn't hatch, I want to open it up. If there's nothing in it, then there's a chance the rooster's infertile. Okay. If they're in there and they're not hatching, then we got a hatchability problem, and that's a hen thing. Usually that's more towards the hen. And if you're not selecting for healthy, vigorous hens, which is a sign of good mitochondrial DNA, then the chances of poor hatchability, if you're not selecting properly, you could reach it. So a lot of times you'll see the problem in the hens themselves. So if the hens don't look right, chances are, it could be good, it's going to affect the hatchability. So, but yeah, I open up the eggs and determine whether it's a hen problem or a cock problem from there.
Now, you just mentioned mitochondrial DNA. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Is that part of the list?
I don't
she
know.
doesn't even know. She's not even using the list. Okay.
Okay, here's the thing about mitochondrial DNA. You mention it a lot in your podcast, and I think there may be some people out there that are still unsure of what that exactly means. And it's an important term to know.
Okay. First of all, the mitochondria is outside the nucleus. Okay. It has its own DNA, it has its own diseases. It's a, it's the powerhouse of the cell. So it has a lot to do with growth and development. Okay. And it never changes. So the only thing that can change the mitochondrial is like a mutation, which is very rare. And it would mean breeding that bird to other birds with the same defect or mutation for it to excel or take off or to be replicated. It goes when the cell goes through recombination, or it goes through meiosis and the crossover event and eventually recombination, it creates its four gametes. It doesn't change the mitochondrial at all. The mitochondrial stays intact as it is. It just keeps duplicating itself, and it's something that's passed from the hen to the offspring, both her son and daughter. But the father can't pass mitochondrial to the offspring, so we know it's a mother thing. So it goes from mother to daughter, and the best way to select birds with the best mitochondrial DNA is selecting hens that are really healthy, really vigorous. They never get sick, never have been sick. They're the first off the roost in the morning, the last to go on the roost at night. They just look good, act good, sound good, the whole bit. And when they have young, the young are so healthy, they literally pop out of the egg. Okay, she doesn't have problems of whether some are going to hatch or not. They grow, develop properly, and they reach maturity better than the rest. So when you have good mitochondrial DNA, you have a good, healthy strain. And I would say that disease resistance has a lot to do with the mitochondrial DNA. So if you want to create a family or a strain that's resistant to most diseases, really pay attention to the hens that you're selecting, making sure that they never got that disease or is not sick or ever sick. Okay. And eventually you'll get there. I think she's a matriarch of the family due to the mitochondrial. Okay. I can breed, if I breed a really good hen to, mediocre or sometimes even not a great rooster, I can still get pretty decent offspring. Okay. If I breed a crappy rooster, or say a really good rooster to really crappy hens, then I never tend to get good offspring from that. So I can build a family better and faster through the hens than I can the cock. So I pay a lot more attention. I definitely, I'm going to pick the best cocks I can, but I want the hens to be, I want to make sure that I'm selecting the best hens I have to move forward with.
All right, so let me ask you this. To be clear, both the pullet and the cockerel get the benefits from the hen, but the cockerel, when he grows up, does not pass it on through his genes to his sons and daughters.
Yep.
How does the rooster get the benefits but can't pass it on?
There's a lot of theory to it. A lot of people say that the mitochondrial is in the tail of the sperm for the cock, and it doesn't get passed to the egg like the overall sperm does. The tail gets pinched off. I'm not really sure about that. I just know that we know that it's a maternal thing. It's a female thing. We know that a lot of times, like there's two different types of giraffes in Africa. To a lot of people, they look identical. The scientists are able to tell which strain they are by testing their mitochondrial DNA. So they find out that they're actually quite different, So we can, like when they do blood tests, from what I understand, to find out whether someone is the father of the children, they're basically checking the mitochondrial DNA, because that they're able to determine from that, whether they're related or not. But no, I don't know. I have to look that up to find out why the rooster can't. I just know he can't.
All right, so here we go. We got a question. Do certain pairings produce more offspring than that lack vigor in others. Okay, let me see. Let me start that over. Do certain pairings produce more offspring that lack vigor than others? I feel like certain pairings produce worthless offsprings, then most of them end up dying.
Wow. Well, it's either starting with different brood fowl or matching those brood fowl up with different mates. Okay. That's concerning because if I'm breeding, let's say I'm putting together my brood pens and I'm not getting the best offspring from it, I would select the ones that are producing good offsprings, go with those and get rid of the rest. I would not fight my way through birds that are having problems producing decent offspring. There's other issues going on there. It could be that like the hens have poor mitochondrial DNA. Okay. Um, I probably need more information on that one. But and then the fact that they're dying, that could even be a lethal gene. So that could be an issue there.
So
And
the
that would
pairing's off.
it could be the pairings off, but the fact that they carry it is concerning because that's a recessive gene. The only time a lethal gene's dominant is when we're looking at traits that are specific to certain types of breeds that are known to have really short legs, that kind of thing. That would be a lethal gene, but that's specific to that particular breed. That tends to be more dominant. Most lethal genes are like defects where they're recessive, and once they're in there, they're in there. And all we can do is do our best to breed away from it and cull the ones that are expressing it, or we're seeing it in the offspring. And sometimes that can take a while because they're going to be a lot of times if you have enough birds, you're going to have some that have the lethal gene, you're going to have some that don't, and we want to kind of find out which ones those are, so we breed the ones that don't and not the ones that do. But once you breed to a point where you're starting to do some inbreeding and you're starting to concentrate the genes and that lethal gene's in there, that could be a problem. I've seen a lot of families go, and this is where outcrossing is a problem because people think that they always need the blood from the outside to improve theirs. And they weren't really having a lot of problems with theirs. They just thought those birds were a little bit better. Instead of selecting their way to improvement, they bring other birds in. And a lot of those benefits are very temporary, but what's not temporary is those lethal genes and those defects and deleterious genes that show their way into your family through their outcross. And then once they're there, they're there. And if you keep doing outcrossings every year or every other year, eventually you've accumulated enough defects, deleterious genes, and lethal genes to just destroy your family. So if you're not seeing issues with your birds, don't bring in outside blood. Okay. And if you're in question on whether there's an issue, do a lot of test mating. If you're going to bring outside blood, we always say start with a subline. Breed the crap out of that. Do the test matings you need to do. Play it out for a good number of generations before you ever think about putting that subline into your line. And it will take, could take, 3, 4, maybe 5 generations to see what's actually in there. But every time you add new blood, you've reshuffled the genes. Okay. And you're starting over. So some of the genes that could have eventually surfaced don't, because you reshuffled the genes and now they're hidden again. That's why some people like outcrossing, because it hides a lot of the faults for a while. Eventually they will show up though. Just takes a matter of matching up 2 birds with the same copy, the same recessive gene. Bring 2 recessives together, 2 copies, expresses a trait. Yeah.
It's funny you're talking about that because do you remember earlier this week we had a conversation about that, how a recessive gene can be hidden and or it can be completely wiped out. And I was questioning you is how can a recessive gene be completely wiped out? Isn't it still in the family genes somewhere and eventually can show back up? So that's what
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you look at the Punnett square and you have 2 heterozygotes, 2 birds that are not pure, okay, and you play it out on the Punnett square, you'll see that there's some that are homozygous dominant for that particular trait. You're gonna see some that are homozygous recessive for that particular trait, and you're gonna see half of them that are heterozygous dominant for that particular trait. So what that means is 25% of them are going to express the recessive trait. Now, 75% are going to express the dominant trait, but only 25% are going to be pure for that dominant trait. That means 50% of them are going to express the dominant trait, but they're not pure for it. So our job is either to go completely to the recessive and just say, okay, I'm going to forget the dominant. I'm not going to mess with that. And I'm just going to go to the recessive side and, exaggerate that like we talked about, kind of make it pure. Because once you have two recessives together, that's a pure trait, homozygous recessive trait. But if I want to find those homozygotes that are pure for that particular trait, then I got to do a lot of test mating to find those pure birds, because we know that 25% of them are pure for that trait in average. Not, this isn't exact, but it works out pretty good overall. And then if I can find those, then I'm breeding pure from then on. I won't see any recessive pop up after that. So if I'm looking at a defect, a recessive defect, then if I'm getting some that are not expressing the defect, we got to find out whether the ones not expressing the defect are hiding the defect. So we might have to test them if we want to know for sure. Otherwise, we just play the game where we just keep culling the defects to the point we don't see it anymore. And two things are going to happen. Either it's going to end up being pure without the defect, or it's going to be hidden so well that it doesn't express itself anymore. And we've shown that banner. Let me see if I can find it real quick here. It's a great banner. It's on the website. It actually doesn't have this thing on top of it, where I think there's actually 88 different defects on the website that we talk about. And these are them. Now, I would say most of those defects I've seen in my birds. And I've had them for about a little over 30 years now. And I don't see those defects anymore. Now, they're either really hidden because I've done a good job of culling them out and not breeding to them anytime I saw them. I've either eliminated the defect or they're hidden very well. But if I bring in outside birds that have that defect and that defect is hidden in there, it's going to express itself. I just got to be careful not to breed to the birds that are expressing the defect. That's the biggest key. So you can breed it out. You can, if you know what to do and you're willing to do it, you can breed it out.
Okay, it's not clicking here. There we go. My cousin had a set of birds over 20 years. He likes the light hackle. I showed him which hens would bring that out. Now he thinks I know magic. and Chris is a member. I don't know why I didn't remember that, because of course I know Chris is a member.
I mean, Brian's taught us a lot. I've always had a fairly good handle on color, especially when it comes to American games. Because it's actually pretty simple. The color groups are easier to figure out for the most part. Brian did open my eyes to a few things, but I'm slowly and surely getting more familiar with the domestic side. It's a lot more complicated, I will say that. There's more polygenics to those kind of colors than what I'm dealing with American games. But that one with the light reds and the dilute and how to either get it or get rid of it, I mean, yeah. Working with Brian's really opened my eyes to it, because I knew that was possible, but I didn't know whether, how do I say this? It's like I knew it's possible, but I didn't know how well you could keep it afterwards. And the same thing with the silvers with the red in it. We knew, and I told Brian this too, that I knew that it was possible to breed the red out and make the silver pure again, but most people didn't know how to do it. No, that's not what I wanted to say. Nancy, I can't think when you're doing that. That's distracting.
I didn't know that one did that. That's crazy.
Okay, well, that's nice to know now, huh? Okay.
I need to play with those buttons more.
Okay, so I didn't think most people were willing to do what it took to make the silvers pure again. And I didn't know. He showed me which hens to use to make them pure, which I did that I didn't know, because those are the hens that, when I was a kid, that I was getting rid of because I didn't think they're right, because we went by the standard. The standard was completely opposite of the hens you're really actually supposed to breed. Those hens are actually golden ducklings that are with the silvers. And then the only other thing too was that really opened my eyes was the silver wheatons. Yeah, that was a completely different breed, and I thought that was at the time, I didn't think it was actual breed, and he showed me that it was, and how to make those pure. So those are the three main things I learned from Brian when it came to American games and color that really opened my eyes, and it made a big difference. And I can see that it's making a big difference with our members too, which is so awesome. I really appreciate Brian. He's done a lot for me, the website, and my members, and I hope to continue working with him for a long time.
Yeah, we've got a really good eye color question from Sunny that I'm having her wait till we get into the roundtable to answer. So
Okay.
we'll have her wait for that one. Let's talk a little bit about seed fowl versus foundation fowl. What's the differences?
Well, it's a big difference because a lot of people get them mixed up. A lot of people say, "Oh, these are my foundation fowl," and we call them the Adam and Eve. It's the two birds that are beginning your strain. And so a lot of people will go, "What? You know what? I'll take that back. I'm not hearing as much as I used to. A few years ago, people were mixing that up like you wouldn't believe. They were calling their seed fowl foundation fowl, and they were calling their foundation fowl seed fowl. And for us, the seed fowl are your Adam and Eve. It's the two birds that begin your strain. So when you go to buy a cock and hen from somebody and you think you feel that those are the birds you're going to begin with to start your strain, that's your Adam and Eve. The foundation fowl is when you get to a point when the birds are starting to show a lot of uniformity, consistency. They're starting to be more predictable in the offspring, and you're getting to a point where you can pretty much breed any of the cocks and hens together and you're going to get repeatability. That's the signs of a pure strain. And so you're only going to get that when the birds or your family's in the foundation stage of the program. So that's the difference between a seed fowl and foundation fowl. I just think there was a time when people are getting those mixed up. They didn't really understand them. I'm not hearing that so much anymore. Matter of fact, I'm starting to hear people using the term Adam and Eve that they weren't using before, And I always thought of it because I came up with that myself, where I looked at the cleanup process, the beginning of the Founders Program as the Genesis stage. The how the Bible talks about Adam and Eve and how everything started. That's how I think of the Founders Program and the beginning of the program. We call that the Genesis phase. And then you go into the cleanup process, which is the transformation stage. And then you go into the foundation stage after that, So.
Well, somebody was asking earlier, how long is the cleanup stage?
It really depends on the quality of the birds that you start with. It's not about how long or how many years. It's if you're going to start with birds that need it's going to they have a lot of contrasting characteristics. They have a lot of defects. They're not really healthy. It could take you a long time to get through that process. If you're starting with birds that are pretty good overall, maybe have very small issues, it could take, I would say, about 5 years. No, maybe you could probably get to the cleanup process with good birds in about 3 or 4 years. And that'll get you, and then after that, you'll be into the foundation stage. If you're starting with birds that have a lot of issues, it could take 7 or 8 years to clean them up properly. So try to find seed fowl that are in good shape. They're really healthy. They represent their breed. They're free of defects, and they match each other. And you're going to go into the program in a lot better shape, and you're going to make progress faster.
Little variation, better conformation of body type, things like that.
Yeah. Variation in itself isn't bad. Because it's the only way you're going to improve them. You want, like in the beginning, if they have a lot of issues, you want a lot of variation. You want a lot of genetic diversity in the beginning because you're going to have choices. You're going to be able to select traits that are better than the others. So you can take them in different directions, or you can take them in a specific direction and weed out the problems as you go. So in the beginning, variation in genetic diversity isn't a bad thing, exactly. But if you're starting with good birds in the first place, you went to a good breeder, he has good birds, he's getting you off on the right foot, then I still say start from the beginning of the Founders Program, put them through the cleanup process. You're going to be so much better than they would have been otherwise. And then you're going to still go into the foundation stage in really good shape. You're not going to find, because let me put it this way. If you're in the foundation stage and you're seeing variation, you're seeing contrasting characteristics, you're seeing defects or variation, and quite a bit of it, you didn't clean them up, and you're going to be fighting that forever, because you're just not going to make that kind of progress to the foundation stage. And that's where I think the trio method fails. Do I have that on here, by the way, so people know what I'm talking about? No, I don't.
Do not know if you do or not.
No, I don't. Okay. So the trio method is when someone buys a trio, they get a cock in 2 hands. They breed the cock to the 2 hands, and then they go in 2 or 3 different directions with those birds. A lot of times they'll go in 2 different directions with the hens. They use something similar to a line breeding program with those hens. Actually, it's more of a back cross. They just don't know it. They get to a point when they get to 7/8 or 15/16 of those hens, and then they take the hens and breed them together. Okay. Well, those birds weren't cleaned up. So you're probably fighting contrasting characteristics each generation as you're bringing those hens to that cock and then to their offspring. And with that, they're becoming 2 lines, 2 different families because of that. Because a lot of times they're either crosses, they're either mongrels, because they have so many different bloodlines in them, or they may be from one family that wasn't bred properly, so they still had the variation in the contrasting characteristics. So you're kind of carrying them along the way with the hen. Then you bring them together, and you just open up that floodgate of traits, and you're like, oh, shoot, what happened? I got this, I got that, I got different color legs, I got different comb types, I got different feather color. What the heck happened? Well, you didn't clean them up. You took 2 birds that were going in different directions and weren't related enough in the first place, or they weren't bred to a cock that was related, and so they went in 2 different directions. Just look at genetic drift, it'll tell you exactly what happened. And then you bring them together, goes through the breeding process, goes through meiosis, crossover event, recombination, and all of a sudden you got variation. You got birds are unpredictable, and you don't know where to go after that. So the trio method fails because of that alone, because they went into it with the wrong birds, or birds that weren't properly cleaned up, or they weren't from a good family, or they weren't a real family to begin with. Because the cock has to be related to the hens, and the hens have to be related to each other. Okay. So I think that the Founders Program is the best way to go because of the cleanup process. Okay. And because of the foundation stage, the way we have it set up, I just don't know of any other way to go. So
you're at a loss for words, my friend.
I ran to my end. Okay. Or as much as I want to say. I think my members know exactly what I'm talking about. So.
They do. Even I do. Okay. So I'm on stage 2, black family. I'm working on all chicks coming out black. Wait.
So
he is. Okay, so I'm making sure I'm reading it right. I'm working on all chicks coming out black with some white flight feathers, but in molt, they lose all the white feathers. Should I start with a different family or keep going?
Is he talking about the young birds when they come up? They have white feathers in the wings, and then they lose those, and then they grow up after that and they have no white feathers, because that's what mine do. So I talked to Brian about that. And if you look at the baby chicks when they hatch, they're basically black, but they have some yellow or white spots on them. And that's where those white feathers are coming out of. So basically the feathers are just following the color of the down. Now, when they go into the first molt, they drop those feathers out of their wing. They won't grow back. They will be black from then on. So you're good to go. So if he's dealing with what I'm dealing with and what I talked to Brian with, he's good. Yep. Now, if they're mature and you're seeing white feathers, then you got a problem. Then we're talking about progressive white, and we want to get rid of those birds and then breed to the ones that either don't have it or have it the least.
Have it the least is to where you can eventually breed it out.
It's all you can do. So I'm a firm believer you create a family with what you got. And if I have to, I move with the 2 birds that can at least move me in the right direction. So if I have birds and they all are showing white, I pick the 2 that have it the least, and I just keep doing that until the white disappears. Might take a little while, but you can get there.
How can I effectively select for bigger size and better feather quality?
Sunny, just select for it. So if I'm lacking size, then I have to have enough chicks to select from. So the more chicks I can produce, the better section I'm going to have. And now there are going to be some other qualities I'm going to breed for, but if size is one of them, I might want to make a subline for that. So I pick the birds that are the biggest from that clutch, and I breed those. Okay, feather quality at the same time. Is she talking about feather color, feather quality? Now, feather quality could be a number of things. It could be their environment, it could be nutrition, um, it could be selection, it could be genetic. Okay, so we want to do a process of elimination to figure out why we have poor feather quality, and then we also want to select to the birds that have the best feather quality, improving their environment. Okay, selecting for the better plumage and making sure they have good nutrition.
Now, you have some birds that are raised in very harsh environments, like very high heat temperatures or strong heat wind temperatures that dries out the feathers. Is there anything that they can do for that, or any extra vitamins or things you can put in the feed to help?
You know what helped me? When I remember it was a few years ago, I had a family that was kind of lacking. Like you said, the feathers seemed a little dry. They weren't the best quality. I know the genetics were good. So I started putting a little olive oil in my feed. Not a lot, just a little to make the feed a little. You could see it throughout the feed. It was like one little cup with the whole bucket, and mixed it in real good. And I did that for about a year or so, and I saw the feather quality improve. So, but again, without seeing pictures and knowing exactly what she's talking about, we could be totally off and guessing, you know. But I do know that feather quality could be genetic, could be in environment, or it could be nutrition. Yeah.
Okay, Sonny. So get some pictures to Kenny. Email him some pictures so we can figure out what's going on.
Yeah, and for my members, because how do I want to say this? If you email me and I don't answer in a few days, let me know that you emailed me, because I'm seeing a lot of emails going into my spam folder, and I'm trying to check it often, but I go usually a few days without doing it. And I've seen a few members' questions in there that I almost missed. And the problem is I get a lot of stuff going into the spam. And so if I don't see anything that's related to the members or anything important in the top page, then I usually just delete the whole page. So if I don't answer you guys from an email, then let me know that you sent the email, and I'll go in there and look before I delete it all. I keep everything nice and clean, and I don't hold on to stuff. If it's just a message and it doesn't require pictures or video, contact me inside the Breeders Academy. But if you're going to send me pictures or video, send it to my email address, and let me know in a few days. If I don't answer, let me know that you send it so I can go looking for it.
Okay. Now, Christopher is asking, this 5 to 8 year timeline messes with me. If I'm breeding mature 2-year-olds as part of a selection, that's what? 3 generations or best?
I mean, depending on the birds, he's got game fowl. So I would wait till at least 18 months old before I breed them, and you could stagger your breeding so that you're making progress faster. So you breed, let's say, that cock to these hens this year, and then you breed them into a different generation the following year, and then the offspring from that one you can do the other year. And you can speed, there are ways to speed up the process so that you're not waiting 2 years for every breeding. We want to make it so that you're at least getting some matings and breedings going each year, so you're still making progress, but you're still waiting for the birds to be at that proper age before you actually breed them. So that's something we can get together and talk about, but yeah, you want to make sure they're mature for a lot of reasons. They don't express their true potential until they're at least 18 months, maybe 2 years. Okay. There's a lot of things that could pop up, genetic triggers that can pop up later that you didn't see. The hens, they don't produce the best offspring when they're really young. I could probably get away with a young stag breeding it if I understand the family and I understand how that bird's going to progress and develop as it gets older because I know the family. But if I'm dealing with unknowns and I'm dealing with birds I don't know very well, I'm taking a risk because I don't know what to expect. But like my birds, I've had like 30 years. I could actually breed the stags because I have a pretty good idea of what those birds are going to look like when they mature. I know what they should look like. I know that when they're starting to go in the wrong direction, let's say at 6 or 8 months old, and I get rid of those. I rarely get surprised these days. Once I select birds that are 6, 8 months old, I'm rarely surprised. They don't change on me that much, So I can pretty much guarantee that I'm going to get what I thought I was going to get because I know the family that well. So once you have a family like that, then there's ways to get around it. But you do want them to be as mature as possible when you breed them for a lot of reasons. So
Okay, we have time for one more.
okay.
Explain what the blanket theory is.
Okay, this is in the old wives' tales, what's the word? Not consolidation, where traits are connected. What's the word for it? Correlation. The correlation of traits. A lot of people believe in the correlation of traits. When I see people start talking about they believe in the correlation of traits or selection through correlation, then I know they don't know what they're talking about. And the whole idea is a lot of the game fowl people for years since I was a kid used to use the blanket theory where they would say, okay, I'm breeding this bird with these faults, but I'm bringing it to this other bird with different faults. So if each one of them represents a blanket and I put them over each other, the holes don't line up. In theory, it sounds like it would work, but I'm also breeding to birds that have faults, and I'm going to see those in the offspring. Eventually, they're going to consolidate to the point where I'm starting to repeat. They're starting to match up in the offspring, or the different matings later in the different generations down. Once I get to a point where I'm breeding the family more without adding new blood, then I'm going to start matching up those defects to the point where it's going to start expressing themselves in the offspring. So yeah, the idea is to match two birds that have, it goes the other way too. Either matching two birds that don't share the same defects, or matching two birds, and let me finish this too, matching two birds that have benefits but different benefits, and a lot of those benefits that they think they're matching up are polygenic, and you can never improve a polygenic trait with one cross infusion or outcross. So when they think they're matching up different types of performance abilities together, what they're getting is not that this bird contributed this and this contributed this, and they're both showing up in the offspring. All they're getting is hybrid vigor. And that, again, it's not passed to the next generation. It's not inheritable. Whatever is showing the hybrid vigor is the product. It's a one-time deal. The only time you can use a hybrid bird is when you're creating a strain from the beginning. I can't use that hybrid bird, no matter how good he is, to improve an already established family. Okay. Or even one that he half came out of. Okay. So the blanket theory doesn't really work, especially when it comes to polygenic traits. When it comes to form and function traits, performance traits, production traits, when we're talking about the blanket theory and the fact that those are polygenic, it doesn't work. It doesn't work at all, not even a little bit. Where it kind of works a little bit, maybe, when it comes to defects, because as long as they're not sharing the same defects and we bring them together and we're willing to cull the offspring that are expressing the defects and move forward with the ones that don't, then yeah, it kind of works. But I still say that that it's best not to breed birds with defects in the first place. And then another way people use the correlation of traits game is when you have birds that some of them have high tails, some of them have low tails. They think they bring them together, and they're going to get birds with birds with the right angle tail, or whatever trait it may be. They think that bring one extreme to another extreme, bring them together, that they're going to get the get that correlation, and they're going to see it in the benefits in the offspring, that the offspring are going to benefit from that cross. Doesn't work like that. Those are two separate traits. So the correlation of traits in the blanket theory doesn't work there either.
So what you're telling me is you've got a blanket here and you got a blanket here and you put it over each other because supposedly those traits, because the blanket's over it and not straight of it like this, the traits aren't matching up to each other. So those bad traits that this one has, the bad traits that this one has, when it comes over like this, they're just poof, magically gone.
When it comes to defects, that's half true. You might not see it in their offspring, but when you start breeding that family closer, you start breeding those offspring together, eventually they're going to start showing up, and you're going to see those traits in the third, fourth, maybe fifth generation, and they're going to come in a vengeance. So when you see birds with faults, it's best not to breed them unless that's your only choice, because you can't replace them or you can't find any others. When you got whatever you got is what you got. You move forward the best you can. There's ways to get around it, but that just means there's going to be more work, more of the cleanup process you're going to have to deal with. So,
my goodness. So let me ask you this then. Say you do the blanket theory and you've crossed them over. They're not like this. They're crossed over. Some of this is gone. Some of that is gone. And so now you've got the hen side and you've got the rooster side. As long as you keep them away from each other and not bring them back together, can that method work?
Well, think of it like this. We talk about meiosis and the crossover event and the recombination of genes. Yeah. So when I'm putting those two birds together, they're either sharing great traits or not sharing great traits. I'm getting that mixed up. But if they're sharing great traits, but they're sharing different great traits, or they're both carrying defects, but they're not carrying the same defects, going through that meiosis, going through that crossover, recombinating the genes, you get that variation, you get those unique gametes, which become unique chicks. Then you get unpredictability. You get offspring that are showing everything under the sun, but they're carrying a lot of traits under the surface within them that you're just not seeing. So when I start breeding those together, now I'm matching up. Now I am matching them because they all carry the same trait now. And now they're expressed in their offspring. And you're like, what happened? And because it happened 3 or 4 years down the road, you forgot what you did. You didn't understand the genetic factors of those traits in the first place. And you're in question or confused why all of a sudden all your birds look like crap or have defects, deleterious genes, or lethals, So it's just best to nip that stuff in the bud as fast as possible.
So the only way that the blanket theory works is if you keep those two lines separated and never bring them back together.
Yeah, well, treat them like hybrids. Yeah.
Okay.
Then they're hybrids and they're never to be bred. They're the product. Then maybe it does work, but it doesn't work with form and function traits, like performance type traits. Okay, production type traits, anything like that, form and function traits, the blanket theory just doesn't work at all. Not a little bit, not at all.
Okay.
Yeah. That's where those are the traits they think that they're blending in. And that's the whole idea. They think they're blending. They're actually blending the benefits of two different birds into one, thinking they're getting a superior offspring. Well, the only superiority that's showing up is actually hybrid vigor, which is not what they think it is. So the whole idea of bringing those two birds together in the first place to get the traits that they were hoping to get really aren't there. Not like they think they are. So when it comes to form and function traits, polygenic type traits, the blanket theory, correlation of traits theory doesn't work at all. Not at all.
All righty. Are we ready to go into the back end?
I think my members are. You ready to go?
They are.
Okay,
you guys ready?
So I want to thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you next week. We'll see our members in the back end.
Yes. And everybody, if you like the show, make sure you give us a thumbs up, share often, and subscribe if you like to know when we're coming on again, which is every Friday night at 6:00 San Diego time. But anyway, have a very wonderful weekend. Members, we'll see you in a few moments. Bye.
See you later.